Surely every mother wonders what kind of child she's going to have. And Mary all the more so. Mary all the more so given the circumstances. Mary all the more so, this woman who was so inclined, the Gospel says, to ponder in her heart. No one lived Advent like Mary. Well, it's as if we are all on the way to Bethlehem. There's the pregnant young woman, side saddle perhaps on the donkey, and a man walking alongside, solicitous, preoccupied, and behind them all of us. I think today's liturgy invites us to enter into Mary's wondering, to wonder with her in her company. Who is she carrying? What is this sacred cargo in her womb? In a sense, it's always Advent, and the whole church, down all the long roads of her history, keeps on wondering who he is. Who do you say the Son of Man is? Mary's son would later ask himself. It's a question that can be asked and answered over and over again, generation after generation, over and over again in our own lives. Who is he? It's a question that will fill our eternity when, please God, we're lost in wonder, love and praise. Well, from the texts that we have, what might Mary have known? There were no prenatal scans in those days, but she knew she was carrying a boy. Would he be healthy? Would he be strong? Who would he look like? What to call him? But that had already been settled. Angels had told both Joseph and her. She could already call him Jesus, the one who would save his people from their sins. And she knew this Jesus was the Son of David, the long-promised one, not just her expected one, but the hope of her whole people. And this at a time when the Jews had as their puppet king someone not in any sense a son of David, Herod the Great, and when they were sweating under the iron yoke of Rome. This at a time when there was a sense of abandonment and dispersal among them. And all the prophecies of better things must have echoed through Mary. She must have sensed her son was the answer to all this suffering. He was the sign God had not abandoned Israel and would put everything right. There'd be unity again, and justice and peace and purification from sin, and a temple filled with the glory of God. All this had already burst into song for her when she visited Elizabeth and sung the Magnificat. He has shown the power of his arm. He has routed the proud of heart. He has pulled down the mighty from their thrones and exalted the lowly. The hungry he has filled with good things. The rich sent empty away. In time, she'd learn that it's by his passion and cross that we're brought to the glory of his resurrection. But for now, there must have been joyful anticipation. She knew how concerned Joseph was about where they'd lodge, but she knew all would be well, and I think her heart was singing. But she must have wondered even more. She knew that the child within her hadn't come about in the usual way, thanks to a man. She had conceived what was in her by the Holy Spirit. Now there's something intimate and mysterious about every conception, but all the more with this one. And here was this baby inside her, growing and moving and kicking as babies do, but with this strange, deep difference, conceived by the Holy Spirit. He will be called the Son of the Most High, the angel had said. He will be called Emmanuel, a name which means God is with us. In time, Peter would say to Mary's son, "You are the Christ, the Son of God." In time, Thomas would hail him, "My Lord and my God." In time, Paul would write to the Romans of the gospel of the Son of God and how that had shone out through his resurrection. In time, St. John would write the immortal lines, "The Word was God, the Word became flesh and dwelt among us." Yes, in time, the Church would articulate a deep and beautiful teaching on the Incarnation, how the Son of God, begotten before all the ages, God from God, had been conceived by the Holy Spirit and born of the Virgin, a man like us in all things but sin, God and man in one. But we are still, as it were, behind the donkey, on the way to Bethlehem. We are still wandering with Mary. Perhaps it must have been for her rather like climbing. You climb the foothills and you think that's it, and then suddenly beyond them there's a great chain of snow-capped mountains. And surely Mary must have felt that there was just depth upon depth about this child she had within her. Knowing how he had been conceived, she must have sensed, intuited, understood with her heart that this child was something even more than the fulfillment of Israel's hope, even more than the chosen Messiah. He was all that because he was something more. Mary, who didn't have any sin to cloud or confuse her, must have begun to see that God was giving us his very self, the beloved of his heart, his only begotten Son, that he was opening the long closed door of his Godhead and calling us into himself to become his beloved sons and daughters, children of God, sons in the Son. All the paths in Mary's heart must have been leading this way. Already the spirit of adoration was rising in her and enveloping Joseph too. Already the angels were gathering round her and a new worship was about to be born. So let's keep on to Bethlehem. We're nearly there. Let's ask Mary to make us party to her wondering. And if today or at Christmas we're receiving Holy Communion, when we do, let's think with Mary who we'll have within us, who he is and who we have become.